Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode, we're going to book the worst possible Royal Rumble. And the reason for this, just a little bit ago, I watched a video from Steve and Larson on their Friendo Club channel, where the two of them booked the worst Royal Rumble they could book. And at the end, Steve threw out a challenge. He said to put in the comments your worst Royal Rumble. So I took that as an opportunity to make a video. Now, this is going to be a companion to theirs because part of his challenge was to not use any of the wrestlers they used. So if you're watching this, there's going to be a link in my description to watch their video as well, so when you're done this you could go watch theirs, or chances are you've probably already watched theirs, but this is my attempt. They took a somewhat comedic stab at it. I have some comedy in here. I added with that some wrestlers that I think are persona non grata, people that the fans don't want to see, and then also some wrestlers that I just don't think would move the needle at all. With that being said, I'm going to give you my entrants. I'm not going to give you the eliminations, just the entrants, my final four, and my eventual winner. So let's jump right into that. Our first entrant, Akam. And the reason for this is pretty much the Authors of Pain are a non-entity. There's something that most fans don't really care about. Matter of fact, could you tell if that was Akam or Razor? I had to pull the picture up just to figure out which one was which. I don't know who's who, but he's going to be our first entrant, which brings us into our second entrant, a comeback. And a lot of these are going to be comebacks, basically because there's a lot of the roster that I think fans would like to see in the Rumble. So a lot of these are going to be comebacks. Our second entrant, starting off with a Haas fight, we get Tucker, formerly of Heavy Machinery. He comes in, basically you got two bulls going at it. We're going to keep with the theme for number 3, Tyrus, aka Brodus Clay. Kind of a controversial figure. For the most part, his run in NWA was hated, so therefore he's on our list. We're not going to talk about political leanings because that really doesn't have much of an effect on this other than how the fans feel about a certain wrestler. But anyway, Tyrus, aka Brodus, is 3. We're going to have Tyrus in. We're going to have a guy he used to bodyguard for coming in at number 4. Our celebrity entrant, Snoop Dogg. And while I think Snoop at WrestleMania a couple years back had a great performance, when I think of Snoop, I don't think of a great celebrity wrestler, but hey, let's throw him in for name value. He'd probably be the biggest pop of this, depending on how the fans are feeling that night. Going off of that, our number 5 entrants, Epico Cologne. Again, someone most fans don't care about. And this is not a knock on the wrestlers, by the way. Some of these wrestlers I've enjoyed watching. Some of these wrestlers I think are very talented. It's just what I think the fans would not like. Going from that, our number 6. On their video, they talked about potentially putting Itchweed, one of the variants of Jeff Hardy, into the list, but they didn't. I'm going to go one step further. For my number 6 entrant, Willow. As much as the fans would love to see Jeff Hardy, like they said, throwing one of the variants would just be kind of a who cares moment. That's why he's on there. Going from that, our number 7, Cruz del Toro. Again, another guy on the roster that's just kind of floundering. Number 8, Adam Rose's Bunny. And this is easy because as long as they have the suit, they could throw anybody in the roster in there and he'd be fine being the Bunny. It'd be a nice little comedy spot. I think this would actually get a pop, but again, not something that I think the fans would really care to see. Now we're going to get into some of the more controversial people. Number 9, the villain, Marty Scurll. Marty is pretty much ostracized from major wrestling events. I think he's done some AAA events. I think he's done some CML events. But outside of that, I don't see him ever showing up in WWE. I don't see him showing up in AEW, New Japan, or even TNA. I can't see any quote-unquote major promotion giving him another shot. And probably rightfully so. He's part of the speaking out movement. I go from that, our number 10. A little bit lighter-hearted, Dante Chen. Followed up by another more lighthearted one, number 11. Wolfgang. Then we're going to go into another problematic guy, number 12, Austin Aries. Here's a guy that's probably one of the most talented wrestlers of his generation, but found a way to burn himself out with his fans and make himself unlikable. That's why he makes it in here as our worst Royal Rumble competitor. Following him, we get Boa, another guy who pretty much no one cared about. Next, we're going to follow him up with number 14, another controversial guy, mostly because of his training habits, and that's Bill DeMott. Again, another wrestler I think is pretty much persona non grata. I don't see him at any of the conventions. Therefore, I don't think the fans would care about him. Our next one, number 15. I actually think fans would like this, but I was kind of running out of people that aren't either in the WWE doing well or that they used for their list. So for this, Kurt Hawkins. And I like Hawkins. I'm a fan of his. I just think it wouldn't get any kind of a pop from the crowd. Number 16, another one of our problematic people, Drew Gulak. Whether you believe Ronda Rousey or not, he doesn't seem to have made many friends, so therefore he gets on the list. Number 17, another celebrity appearance, Rob Gronkowski. As much as I love the Gronk USAA commercials, and I think he had a moment where he could have done something fun in wrestling, I think that moment's past. No one really cares about him anymore. That's why he's in this Battle Royal. Going from that, our number 18. The one guy that I think the fans have cared about the least and was pushed somewhat decently, Curtis Axel. I mean, the guy was a Paul Heyman guy at one point, an Intercontinental Champion, Tag Champion. Again, I think he's not someone that would move the needle. That's why he's here. Speaking of non-needle movers, number 19, another comedy spot, JTG. I do think he would get a good response, mostly because of the Crime Time run and how favorably fans look back on that. I loved Crime Time. I thought they were fun. I think they should have won a tag title. But again, he's not a needle mover. That's why he's here. Coming in at number 20, another problematic guy, James Ellsworth. And like I said with some of the other guys, a guy that did some things that probably aren't favorable, hence why I think he deserves to be on this worst Rumble. Number 21, a guy that I don't think really did anything bad that the fans would hate him for, but again, I kind of think the fans just don't care about him. Jack Swagger. I do think he might get a pop, especially if he comes out and does the We the People thing, but for the most part, I don't think anybody really cares about him. Speaking about a guy no one really cares about, number 22, Brad Maddox. I've never heard anyone clamor for a Brad Maddox return, so there you go, he's in our list. Our next guy, number 23, is a guy that I've heard fans kind of want back, mostly because the person behind him is very talented, and that's Ezekiel. I think most fans would want Elias back, so giving them Ezekiel instead, again, much like the Willow introduction, this is something I don't think they would care about. Go from that, number 24, Kona Reeves. Here's a guy that was in developmental for years and years and never really caught on. I don't have nothing against the guy, just, again, he's not someone that moves the needle. Next up, number 25, Connor from the Ascension. If you notice here, there's some guys that I'm putting in here that are just one half of their tag team, and to me, I just think that's funny, like having Occam in here. Spoiler, Razar is not going to be in this. Or Tucker without Otis. I mean, they're not together anymore, but you see what I'm saying. Connor's another one that I'm putting in here without his partner, because people would expect that. His partner would come in at some point, and that's part of the reason why it's the worst, because you're taking away something they expect. Going on to number 26, a guy that I think has had some negative publicity, and that's Lars Sullivan. I know there was the video rumors or video facts, which I don't really care what the guy does personally, but not a guy that was universally loved or cared about. That's why he's here. Going from that, our number 27, a guy that has a whole Dark Side of the Ring episode about him, Marty Jannetty. And if you watch that, you know why he's here. I actually think the fans would cheer for Marty here. I think out of the people we've named, I think he'd get one of the bigger pops. But again, he's broken down, he can't really do anything, and there is the weird Facebook stuff, so maybe not. Next up, number 28, Percy Watson. Another wrestler that I think most of the fans would meet with apathy. That's why he's here. Number 29, this one's just for Steve. If Steve ever watches this, I'm putting this guy in just for you. And that's your arch nemesis, AJ Francis, aka Top Dollar. And look, I got to meet Top Dollar not too long ago, and he was extremely nice, extremely fun to be around. He had a really good match at the MLW event I went to. I enjoyed seeing him. I think he's done some good work in TNA, but we all know there was that little friction between him and Steve earlier, so that's why he's in here. And last but not least, our 30th entrant. I don't know why neither of you guys came up with him, but the worst entrant possible. Actually, Ric Flair was a pretty good one that you guys came up with, and the Miz's father too. That was just hilarious. But my opinion, a guy that trumps even them, and fittingly is a supporter of Trump, coming out peddling his own all-American beer, the real American, Hulk Hogan. We all seen what happened at the first Monday Night Raw on Netflix. I don't think he gets a better response anywhere out there. That's why he's our number 30. Probably the most deflating person to come out. Now we're going to go to our final four, which for me is going to be AJ Francis, Willow, Marty Jannetty, and Hulk Hogan. And out of those four, our two finalists are going to be Hogan and AJ, leaving Hogan to win this, for Hogan to go on to WrestleMania for one more main event at WrestleMania, brother. And if we're going to keep the ball of the worst rolling, Hogan beats Cody at night 2 of WrestleMania. And that's the worst possible outcome I could think of. But anyway, let me know what you think. Did you watch their video? If not, go watch their video, come back here. Tell me if you think I did better, if you think I did worse. If with the limitations I had, you think I did serviceable, let me know down in the comments here. Go watch their video. The link is down here in the description. Not that they need my help, but hey, if I'm going to borrow the idea from them, I'm going to give them a shout out. Check them out. And before we go here, I wanted to tell you guys about something new. If you go to my Facebook page and you look at the tabs, there's one that says store. If you click on that, there's going to be products you could buy. Now, this is not products of mine. These are all things that I think are cool. Some nice little wrestling gifts, t-shirts, figures, stuff of that nature. If you purchase them, I get a kickback. I get commission. So if you want to support the channel, you want to buy some cool wrestling merchandise, click on the store, click on one of the products. If you buy it, I get a percentage back. And I think if you're on the mobile app, it automatically comes up in the description of the videos. I'm not 100% sure, but I know for a fact if you go to the page itself, there's a store tab that you could click on. If you want to help me out, that's the easiest way, even easier than being a member, because I think you actually not only get a product that you want, but you also get to help me. But anyway, I digress. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this is my version of the worst possible Royal Rumble.